the Next Fix podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Penley, and we are again with a story of bounce back, comeback, if you will. A man who's very familiar with sobriety. Lately, he's been telling his story in his recently published book. So he is an official author, and he's out here letting people know about it. This is our good guest here today, Mr. Daryl Dittmer. Daryl, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Ryan. Thank you. How are you?
Fantastic, my friend. So, let's just go ahead and get it in everybody's minds. What's the name of your book? Where can we find it? We're going to do the plug up here in the front real fast before we get this thing going.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. The name of my book is When I Stop Fighting, and the subtitle is The Unexpected Joy of Getting My Head Out of My Ass.
The subtitle is a banger, man. It's like okay. It's like a nice little punch at the end there, man. But a fantastic title indeed. And so I'm kind of anxious to know at what point in time in your life did you decide the train has fallen off the tracks and I got to get to work here and maybe change things up and maybe sobriety is the answer. Like, what did that look like for you?
I was actually young. I was very fortunate that I was introduced to sobriety at a young age. I was actually asked by, it was more or less an intervention. I don't know what the heck they called it back then, maybe the same thing, but I was asked to go talk to a drug counselor, and I was 18 years old, scared the hell out of me, and my life had been characterized by trying to do the right things, sort of, because I didn't want to be judged as a bad person or a terrible guy, or I wanted to have people like me, and I also wanted to do the stupid stuff that I wanted to do, which included, the slippery slope of drugs and alcohol. So when I was introduced to, sobriety, or I should say, talking to this drug counselor at 18, I was scared. It was probably a couple weeks that, they said, if you want to go meet us such and such's place, such time. I said, all right, I'll think about it. And it was basically that, or you're out of our life for the most part.
Right.
And right. I went to go see the counselor, and I was scared to death, but I was planning on lying, like, just my typical shtick of here's the BS I can come up with to try to get myself out of a situation. And the moment I walked in to visit with this dude, he was like, you can't lie to me. I'll know if you're full of crap. He intimidated me. And, at that time I was 18, so I'm still a kid, and I'm trying to get everything figured out, not just, sobriety. So I was intimidated, and I told him the truth to the best of my ability at that time, whatever that was. And I remember at the end, I said, what do you think, Doc? And he said, we need to get you into an inpatient treatment program. So that was, I was 19 by the time I went in. So it was, I'm a December baby, and it crossed over. January of 1985 was when I went into treatment.
1985. It's funny, man. The same damn thing happened to me. That I got called into a counselor's office, and I'm walking in there, and when I say same thing, it was the same presentation of am I gonna lie or am I gonna tell the truth here? And I'll tell you, like, it wasn't intimidation. It was actually like, they were like, you can tell us the truth. You don't have to be here. No matter what you say, stays here. And then I was like, well, shit. And I told them the honest truth. And they were looking at me like, whoa. And I'm looking at I saw other kids in there, and I'm like, wait a second. Like, I'm the only kid that told the truth. Like, everybody else lied. And so they're looking at me like I'm the worst of all of them. And I'm like looking at other kids. I'm like, I know what they do, and I was like, I guess I'm the only idiot that told the truth. But I was presented with that, that opportunity. Now, the difference between you and I is I did not take advantage of it at that juncture in my life. But back to your life, it's 1985. You made a decision, and man, I mean, that's a blessing, man. That's a blessing that at that age you had at least enough sense to to kind of lean into it, right? And so, all right, so I don't mean to date you, man. 1985, I was born in 81. So I don't think they called it intervention back then. I think you're right. They probably like had another term for it. It's like,
yeah,
hey, dumbass,
down or something. Yeah.
Right. So what developed after that, Daryl? What sparked your fire, or your how much you're about sobriety these days? Like, what does that entail? Like, why?
Well, at that point, it was sort of, I decided that, okay, treatment, whatever, January. So I went in January 3rd of 1985, December 31st of 1984, that New Year's Eve, I was really questioning whether I wanted to be on this earth. And that was kind of my, okay, I'm going to try this because it's either that or do something more drastic. So I got into treatment, and I don't remember much about it, quite honestly, at all, other than we, I remember a couple of counselors, just sort of vaguely. I remember being in a room for 3 days and, just feeling like I was being dragged into hell. Quite honestly, it was just kind of this detox craziness going on. And in treatment, I was introduced to the 12-step programs, and that was something that I saw people in there, and I saw that they were, and not all. I mean, I saw some people who looked like they were experiencing something that I wasn't, like some contentedness or happiness or something, and they weren't scared of everything like I was. I was, I couldn't look people in the eye. I had no confidence. I was just kind of wrecked, and so I paid attention to that. I paid attention to wanting something different, and that slow progression. My drinking and drug use progressed pretty quickly. The slow progression of sort of coming out of it. I mean, I've been doing it for a while now, and it's been a long time since I've cared about drinking or drugs or anything like that, but starting out is difficult. And so what I got out of treatment, as that ended after, sessions and talking and trying to be honest and all of those things that they throw at you, and even the one day at a time, and this too shall pass, and to thine own self be true, and all that. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? I have no idea what this stuff means. But there were still those people there that had some semblance of contentedness that I saw, and I saw them have that, and I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. So getting out of treatment, I got hope. I got hope from treatment that something could be better in my life, and I got the 12 steps, and that's how I proceeded into sobriety.
Right. So the 12 steps. Now, are you still involved in AA these days? I
haven't been to a meeting in a long time, honestly.
Right. Gotcha. And nonetheless, it was the 12 steps that really grabbed a hold of you, which, for people that may not understand this, there is a difference, or there has become a differentiation between the different 12. There's different 12-step programs. AA is the dominant one. It's the one that everybody really knows about, the big book and those things. But there's been all kinds of different developments. I think that the biggest difference is some people try to remove God from it. They try to have that element not be focused on, and despite it being, in my opinion, very important to have the belief in a being more powerful than yourself, right? That's kind of the wording I think is current. But so you're admiring these people, correct?
I am.
Right. And then now they become your mentors, and then you're starting to just pick up on how they live their lives, correct?
Absolutely. I got out of treatment. I don't come from a college-educated family. So my dad was a mechanic. My mom took care of the kids, and that was kind of how I grew up, very blue-collar. Nobody had graduated from college or anything like that. So, but I thought that as I got out of treatment, I'm like, you know what? I want to go to college. And because I had just graduated high school the year before, and I wanted to do started to be motivated to do something about my life and kind of get into a direction, whatever that direction was. So I took advantage of that, and I think the basketball coach helped me get in because I was not a stellar student in high school, but that seemed to help. Somebody got me in. But
Right.
Anyway, so I got in on academic.
Gift, man.
Yeah,
We all have our
seriously.
gift, you know.
I was let in. I was on academic probation. I don't know how long, but whatever. And you know, I was about 8 months sober when I went to college, and almost immediately, you know, I dove right in because I dove into AA. That's the 12-step program that I went to and chose, and that was, you know, NA was around. There wasn't a whole lot of other stuff, and it was all, you know, big book based and sort of the original stuff, you know, the original teachings. But I found a sponsor right away, and my sponsor, his name was Bud. And one of the things, and I discovered how important it was to have a mentor. And for whatever reason, when I was looking for a sponsor, I was looking for someone who exhibited, you know, some wisdom, some intelligence, some, you know, calm, some unselfishness, you know, all those kinds of things. It wasn't like, oh, who's the dude with the most money or drives the coolest car or talks the most smack. Like, I wanted somebody who, you know, had what I wanted, which was to feel good, you know, and potentially someday be able to help others, you know. That wasn't in my mind then, but that's kind of what it morphed into. And because, you know, my sponsor was just a selfless guy, and so this kind of ties into the book. But what Bud said to me fairly early on, because I grew up with, you know, as a lot of people do, suck it up, walk it off, you know, you're not hurt if you're not bleeding out, whatever, you know, just all that sort of stuff. And so, you know, as I was wrestling with some problem or some issue, Bud said to me, he said, Daryl, when you stop fighting, the fighting stops. And that was why I titled my book When I Stopped Fighting, because of what Bud said to me. And that's one of the things. There's many over the years, but that's one of the things that really resonated with me. And you know, I right there, if he went out of my life at that moment and he told me that, and I kept going to meetings and he left, I'd have something that I could lean on and understand and grow with over the years. And that's what I've done with what he told me.
Man, you had mentioned that you were like questioning life at 18. And so what it took was, from what I'm gathering from this, is that maybe Bud he was really the catalyst, right? The program is a great program. I say all the time, it's responsible for saving a lot of people. But I think more powerful than that was a well-positioned and a great mentor to you. And man, you know, so how long were you in contact with Bud? Are you still in contact with him now, or is it like still?
Bud was about he was probably mid-50s when I met him, and this was a long time ago. So he passed away in 2016. I saw him for the last time in 2015, and I moved out of state not long after. I shouldn't say not long after, but you know, probably 8-9 years sober, and so he was still, you know, where I had been, and so it wasn't as easy just to drive down the street and see him. So, but yeah, he and his wife, just beautiful humans, and you know, he told me a lot of wonderful things. Actually interesting, just as a side note, but his sponsor was one of the first 60 people in the program. His name was Ernie G, and he's in one of the books. I don't know what it is, but anyway, so he was able to tell me just a lot of really cool stuff kind of from the beginning, and that sparked my interest too. You know, it was just kind of it was nice to learn from somebody who, and I think Bud was like 15 years sober at the time that he took me on as a project.
Nice.
Indispensable.
Okay, so like, all right, so now, from what I'm gathering, like you want to recreate what Bud did for you? Is that kind of like, are you set on that? Have you already done that? Meaning, like, you know, did you start sponsoring other people and say, hey, I'm gonna lay it down just the way that Bud did for me, or is that what we're doing now? or like how does that look like for you? You know, do you want to return the favor?
Yeah, I did a lot of that. I mean, I did a ton of that, you know, in terms of probably the first 10 years of being sober. As far as sort of officially with AA and that kind of thing. But my life for a long time has been, because there's a lot of people with a lot of stuff going on outside of the programs. They don't have addiction problems. They have other stuff, you know, and I'm a firm believer that we all meet on the field of, you know, what things feel like and how they affect us. And you know, we all feel the same emotions. We all feel anger, we all feel happy, we all feel fear, we all feel sad, we all feel all these things. And that's where we all meet. All of our stories are different, but we meet on that playing field of emotion and what stuff feels like. So I try to help people with that. I try to help people, you know, in business, you know, look at things from a perspective of humanity and you know, not larger humanity, but just, you know, do the right stuff so that you go to bed at night feeling good about yourself and you know, and work, you know, work hard. It's, you know, life is something to be experienced and you know, adventure, you know, that's how I perceive it. And so I've been trying to give back for a long time. And it took me a while to actually write my book. And I'd thought about it for a long time. Probably wrote 2 paragraphs in 20 years. And then within 2 or 3 months, I wrote that book. And then 2 months later, I wrote another book. So kind of the nature of extreme human beings and how that relates to sobriety.
Yeah, I know. I hear you wholeheartedly on the whole. You know, when my foot's on the gas, it's on the gas, man. You know, when it's not, it's not. So, but I love that phrase. I love that phrase that we're all meeting on the field, and we're all it's the same emotions, and we're and there's not that many of them, really. You know, like I think they've got it boiled down to like just a handful of them. You know, like some people smarter than myself, you know, have deemed, you know, like there's like these core emotions, and that's just it, right? And however, the power of those emotions and what they do to us, or what we let them do to us, is that's a whole other story. How we navigate them, you know. But yeah, you're right. It's like we're all out there. We're all out there, and it's the same damn thing. But I want to know more about the process of writing your book, man. Like, so you knew you had to do it, right? You felt the calling. That it was in there, and then at some point you said, all right, you know, here it goes, and then it just kind of shot out of you, because I know that's what happened with me. Is a similar experience. That's why I'm kind of imposing that. Was that how it happened?
It was how it happened. Yeah, it was. So probably I didn't get married. I didn't meet my wife till I was probably 18 years sober. Didn't get married till I was 20 years sober. So I was telling her some stories. She never saw me, you know, as a wreck, you know, and so I was relating stories to her, like, oh, you know, this happened, this, and she's like, you're not that guy, you know, like, I just don't see it. And I'm like, well, I was, and you know, I have that capacity. That's what happens. So anyway, as we were talking about that stuff, I said, remind me to write a book someday. And you know, every once in a while she'd be like, because we lead pretty busy lives. We used to lead very busy lives with businesses and all that sort of stuff. But you know, now not so much. And so she, over the years, she would say, hey, you know, I'd tell her a story. She'd be like, oh, I never heard that one before. When are you going to write your book? And so in probably January-ish of 23, I kind of sat down and said, all right, I'm going to write a book. And it took 2 or 3 months. And it did. It just poured out of me. And the really cool part was that, and I'm sure you can relate to this one, Ryan, but there were things that I didn't remember, I didn't think about for 20 years or 30 years or whatever, or 50 years, you know, like, wow, that happened, you know. And so a myriad of cool sort of emotional stuff and you know, thinking about my parents, they're both deceased. You know, all of those things just kind of well up, and old friends. And I've got a lot of friends who I used to hang out with then, and I'm not that old, but there's a lot of them that are just gone, you know, and direct or indirect effects from, you know, some of the stuff that went on even, you know, back then. it was a huge, I don't want to say a relief, but it just was, it was just kind of like, just all came out, and then I couldn't stop. So then I wrote the next one, and yeah, just loved the process. I had no idea, honestly, that I had that in me, but apparently that's where it came from.
I agree with you. It's therapeutic. Because you don't strike me as the kind of guy, you weren't like you're doing okay. I don't see you as the kind of guy that's seeking therapist treatment on the weekly basis, right? But, so here you are, you've been successful with business, and now you have a relationship. So, but it's kind of an interesting thing to revisit these scenarios and circumstances where it's like that person's a stranger even to yourself. And my wife now, is unreal. She just doesn't have it. She can't wrap her head around that I was wanted in 3 states, or all of these different scenarios, just that you had mentioned. It blows her mind, and and it's kind of weird because I don't know how I feel about that, because we meet and see people that are my family that are familiar with who I was, and maybe I don't want her to know who that guy is. That guy sucks, man.
Yeah.
I'm happy about that part, but maybe it would be kind of if she had knew more of the story. Also, I don't want to scare her off. We just got married, by the way. Just having been married a few months, but
congratulations, man. Very cool.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you. It's the process, man. And I know yours is all memoir, correct? Right? Yours is all memoir.
Yeah. I'd say 70-75% memoir, and then there's the last 25% is just things that were really important to me that I wanted to pass on from that journey.
Nice. Yeah. What are the highlights of that? What's some of these? What do you want to pass on? If you want to just give us a nice rundown, man. Say you're talking to Daryl. He's 18. What are you delivering?
I don't know if Daryl would have listened, but there's so many things that are crucial in sobriety, and I think one of the most important things, and I'll tell a little story around this one because this is part of the back of the book. But there was this guy, Jimmy, who used to frequent this meeting. It was a Friday night community center meeting, and all the meetings have the names, right? The community center, or whatever it is, St. Luke's Church, or blah blah blah. And so this was the community center meeting on Friday night, and this older guy, he was probably in his 70s. His name was Jimmy, and he was probably at that time almost 40 years sober, and we were just young, less than a year, a little over a year, whatever, just a bunch of us clowns, quite honestly, who were some serious about it, some not, and I was serious about it, and so Jimmy would be in that meeting, and to us he was kind of a deity, and to me I was like, wow, this guy's something. But he was the only guy in that meeting. He would fill up the coffee pitcher and go around and fill everybody's coffee cup up, like his capacity for service and humility, and just doing cool stuff like that was to me just unbelievable and really cool because of how he was perceived at that time too. He just didn't care, he was just doing the right thing. And he used to say, and this is one of the things that I think is so important, that to stay sober, you have to stay small. You have to stay humble. You have to be open to learning. You have to, be willing to give back. Don't get too full of yourself. And I've kind of tucked that one in my pocket for, as long as I've been around. And I think about it all the time. And I think about Jimmy all the time. And I can picture him filling up people's coffee cups. And if I can be that person, and it has nothing to do with money or cars or wealth or homes or anything, if I can be that person, I will have achieved a great life. So that's one of the lessons. There's a lot more. I can go into more of that stuff if you want me to, Ryan. Certainly happy to.
Right. So I love that lesson. I have a nice little twist. I talk about that a lot. Is that and the best quote that I've heard about that is by Carl Jung, that it goes, man doesn't find God because it doesn't look low enough. And so I take a lot away from that, because it's so unnoticed, the small things. Those are what's important. And without them, not much really happens. And that's kind of what, the real banger I give to people that are like, well, how do I get there to where you're at? Like, and I tell them, like, man, you got to start small and humble, whatever that looks like for you. It's all very unique to that person, right? So, I tell people, when I was really fighting with the bottle, it was 15 minutes. I was shooting for, I'd have a bottle of vodka at work, and I'd say, okay, I'm not going to drink. It's going to be 15 minutes. I'm not touching that damn thing. And I would fail. I would fail. I'd make it like 11. So they say but that had to happen. That 15 minutes had to happen, and then 30, and then an hour. And so, man, it's those small things that maybe we don't notice, or maybe we don't give enough power to, but everything we do matters. And I think that, if Jimmy, like, clearly, you mentioned Jimmy filling up that coffee. You mentioned it, like, I think 4 times. Now, that left a mark on you. All that guy was doing was just this little gesture of kindness. It didn't cost him any money. It cost him maybe, a couple of minutes, really, for the whole room to fill up those coffees. And he left an impression on your life that's so powerful and so important. And I think that, like, if you're making that effort, who knows how many people are out there saying the same thing about Daryl. They're like, oh man, Daryl showed up and did X, Y, and Z, man, and I remember that forever. And there's a good chance you don't remember that, whatever it might have been, but
Great
I think
point.
that, man, that's really impressive, man. That's really impressive. Yeah, man. No, you said you wanted to give me more. What else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's, I kind of go into a little bit more topic related stuff in the back of the book. I talk about, the importance of taking responsibility, which, at 18, 19 years old, I didn't even know what that was. But, when I think about responsibility now, and I have to, because of what I've experienced, I have to think of responsibility as I am responsible for every freaking thing in my life. Everything in my life. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if somebody pisses me off. It doesn't matter if somebody says the wrong thing. It doesn't matter. I'm responsible. And so I'm responsible for how I react. I'm responsible for how I respond. I'm responsible for my insides coming out of whatever effect it has had on me, like all those things. So responsibility is a big one. Blame is something that I talk about. Blame is an incredible poison that can ruin a person's life. I mean, if I'm constantly pointing the finger at something or someone else for how I feel or how my life is or how my life goes, I'll never take that responsibility to do what I need to do for my life. One of the things that Bud told me, and this is one I have carried around with me as well. I call this sort of number 2. The first one was, Daryl, when you stop fighting, the fighting stops. The second one was, Bud made it very clear to me, and it goes back to the 12 steps, and it goes to the second step, honestly. For me, it goes to the second step, and then it goes to all the other things I'm responsible for. But it starts there. It starts at, in having faith or belief in something greater than me, which the longer I go, it's not hard to figure out. There's a lot of stuff out there, a lot greater than me, like it's fascinating how true that is. But Bud said to me, Daryl, if you want to be sober and you want to, there's a big difference between being sober and, to me, and moving my life in a direction where I can end up contented. I can end up, just fulfilled and wake up in the morning with a smile on my face, all those sorts of things. So first I have to get rid of the drugs, get rid of the alcohol. And then I have all that provides me, besides getting me out of a bunch of trouble, is an opportunity for a much better life. It provides me the opportunity. So Bud said to me, and it sounds kind of biblical, but I don't think it is. He said, because we all have heard first things first a million times, but he said, first things first, and the rest shall be added on. You'll get whatever you want out of this life, or damn close to it, or maybe, and in many cases in my life, and I'm fortunate to say that a lot of it's been better than I could ever possibly imagine. But by keeping, your relationship with yourself, with whatever your higher power is, whatever you decide to call that, doesn't matter. If you keep those things first and you keep exploring and keep learning and keep strengthening that bond and that commitment to your life, everything else will follow. Everything else will just work. And it doesn't mean that it's going to work to my satisfaction, but I know that I'm, from that point to now, I know that I'm being led. That's
right.
Life at this point. Like there's a resonance, and there's this thing in me that just knows, okay, this is something I should do, and this is something I shouldn't do. I mean, it's that simple. And then I do what's in front of me to be done, and then I'm shown what the next thing is. So that's the result of what Bud said to me. First things first, and the rest shall be added on. But I have to listen, and I have to do it. And and it's a lifelong journey. I mean, it really is. It's not like first things first and the rest should be added on. Your life gets better the next day.
Yeah.
It's something that just, it takes time, and it takes practice, and it takes implementing things over time that are going to help me, with that journey.
You're touching on so many things that I really align with, Daryl. Like, and I pluck different beliefs from where I can. Like, for instance, in my sobriety journey, like Stoicism, that philosophy is massive. It's a linchpin, and really a lot of pretty much all of the boots to ground movements that I did were because of that. It's very applicable philosophy. I really enjoy that. A lot of the Eastern stuff, manifestation, all of these things that, and I'm also Christian. I read the Bible daily, right? So here's all these schools of thought, religions, and approaches, however you want to do it. But I think that there's usually a common denominator. It's like we're tapping into something that's a lot bigger, and it's important. If you don't believe in something more powerful than yourself, your life is going to suffer. And so you made a choice to do the opposite of that through Bud's tutelage, and it worked out for you, and you have the proof there. Now, I think a lot of times people struggle with the delay, and the delay, that could be a hard pill to swallow because it doesn't happen quite. It's not instantaneous by a long shot, right? So here you are, you're like, all right, I'm going to get my head out of my ass, right? I'm going to get my head out of my ass. And you start like focusing on good things, and you're like, oh, it's been a week. Nothing cool's happened yet, and my life still kind of sucks. And it's like, yeah, but I saw a really cool graph about it too. It's like you believe in it, and you start to manifest. You start to orient yourself correctly in the universe, and with our Maker and with God or whomever you're referring to, right? You start to orient yourself correctly in that respect, and then once you do, there's a bit of a delay, because once you do that, the world shifts itself around the new you, right? And so the world doesn't just fall in line with whatever the hell you're focusing on, or whatever you're thinking about, or whatever you're trying to manifest, or whatever you're praying about. It's like I said, it's not even close to instantaneous. So the world starts to catch up to you, but it does catch up to you eventually, right? And I think that's what you're saying, is that like eventually, if you just keep on that path, but I also love what you said about the first things first, because if you're full of booze, you're not able to accept the opportunity. So, if you don't do that, then yeah, you don't have a chance for the rest of it to fall in line either. But yeah, man, I get on board with all that stuff, and I'm an impatient person. What about you, Daryl? Are you impatient?
I can be impatient without a doubt. Yeah.
Right.
I've gotten a little better over time.
So I find myself like the kid I'm in the backseat of the car saying, "Are we there yet?" But it's God driving, and he's like just laughing at me, like, "Hey kid, I got you, like just shut up." And it's like, but that's how I feel all the time. I feel like I'm always like, "Are we there yet? We're there yet?" And it's hard for me to not be like that, but. I think that if people can kind of like buckle in, and think about the long haul, if possible, then, the benefits, as you said, you lived a pretty cool life, and you're touching on what made that happen, right? And yeah, man, what a blessing that is. Yeah. So, all right. So you've touched on a couple points in the back of the book there, and your story is really impressive because I see the gratitude in it, and I think that, it's just like I already mentioned this. Forgive me for being redundant, but it's like if you could just do the first things first, and you start to gain traction, you're looking at what happens when you do that. Daryl's living a great life. He's a published author now. Here he is. He's telling his story, having a good time on the back end of successful businesses. What's coming next, Daryl? What's on the horizon? Where are your sights set?
Well, I've got the second book is the cover's done, the formatting's done, the editing's done, all that sort of stuff. I'm just I'm kind of doing this one mostly myself, and so I'm just kind of stumbling through it, which is fine because I actually enjoy stumbling through things because then I learn something. That one is slated going to do a soft launch probably mid-June, and then the real launch end of July, something like that. And when I committed to one book, I committed to 3. So there's another one coming after that. I haven't started writing it yet. It's almost probably 80% outlined. I know what it's going to be about. So, and that's what I'm doing. And other than that, I'm just trying to get the word out. And, if I can do podcasts and help some folks as much as I can by just sharing the story that, and this may sound corny, but it's really not. The promises are real. When they talk about the promises, they are absolutely real. And when I first looked at those promises, I was like, are you guys freaking serious? There's just no way, But I wanted them, I wanted them with everything in my being. I wanted to feel what I thought those were saying, and it makes me emotional, quite honestly, thinking about that, because I can, sometimes I tap into what I felt like back then and to what I feel like now, and it's just a fascinating change. So anyway, that's what's on the horizon for me. I'm excited for book 2 to come out. I'm excited. I'm going to be doing a podcast, so I'm going to get you on my podcast, please, Ryan, if you're up for it.
Yeah.
And that would be very cool.
I guess I feel like I'm in a quote kind of mood here. But Ernest Hemingway, he says, like, your first draft should always be shit, right? So I love it, man, because it's like what you mentioned about stumbling through things. Man, that's me all day, brother. I'm guilty of pulling the trigger fast, but I'm all right with that, because by the time I've already made like my 3 mistakes, and you haven't even, not you, but I mean, like, a person hasn't even pulled the trigger at all, and they're still thinking about it. Like, I'm already on 5th iteration, man. I'm barreling down a finished product here, and so I'm all about stumbling towards stuff, man. It's like, my willingness to get out there and just sound like a total jerk is it's getting higher and higher these days. My ability to just run my mouth, I suppose, but hopefully it's good.
It's great, though. It's wonderful. I'm so glad you're doing it. It's what it takes. There was a little quote. I'll make this a quick little story. But when I was in college, one of the first things I latched onto in a class, there were 2 classes that I actually remember in college. One was like an English 101, and I remember reading, and I'm almost positive it was Emerson, but I'm not 100% certain. But the quote was, "In taking risks, you will triumph." And I've had that one in my pocket for since that time, and so I'm not afraid to go mix it up. I'm not afraid to get my ass handed to me, and that's what it takes. And I've gotten my ass handed to me on dozens of occasions, and it's all good because you come out,
you're still here,
and you're like,
there you are, you're still here, right?
Something changed. Yeah, like life is 1,000 times better than it was before I got my ass handed to me a dozen times. So I don't know exactly how that works, but I guess maybe a few little wins sneak in there every once in a while.
You're damn straight, man. All right, well, tell people where they can find you, my friend.
So my website is www.daryldittmer.com. The first book, When I Stop Fighting, the unexpected joy of getting my head out of my ass. All my social media links, all that sort of stuff are on there, my bio, and et cetera, et cetera. The second book, and I haven't really mentioned this publicly, but I will. It's called When You Stop Fighting, and the subtitle is The Road You're On Is Your Own Asphalt. So,
dude, I love the play there. I love it, man. That's awesome.
Thank you. Well, it's going to allow Amazon to allow me to. They wouldn't let me advertise on Amazon because of the word ass, so I had to change it to asphalt on the second one.
Nice. Hey, I think that's a creative workaround. That's for sure.
Let's see if it
awesome,
works.
Man. All right. Well, listen, guys, this is the next thing. Daryl, it's been awesome having you here, my friend. We're looking forward to the next edition of your writing. I'm looking forward to this podcast with you, man. So, keep me in mind. I'm going to put all Daryl's links in the notes for the show. I do appreciate everybody for stopping by, man. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Pleasure being on, man. Great connecting with you, and I'm sure we'll be talking in the not too distant future.
For certain.